MarkRogersTV and ProFootballCentral.com on Michigan State football. And I've got good news for the Spartans and I've got bad news for the Spartans. On the good side, defense wins championships. And we know the Spartans have one of the best in the land, certainly have the past few years, and are expected to keep pace this season with 7 returning starters. Okay, now on to the offense. If you don't score, you can't win. And Michigan State scored less than just about every team in the country. Not every major team in the country. They were 108th in scoring offense at just 20 points per ball game. They scored just 20 points or less than 20 points, 7 of their 13 games. Deplorable offensively last season, the least amount of Michigan State scoring since the 2000 team, and they could be better this season, but it's certainly not guaranteed because at quarterback, and this is what we really want to focus on, is the passing game. If you want to check out the Michigan State running attack in trying to replace Le'Veon Bell, we posted a video on that a couple weeks ago in Michigan State's effort by committee in replacing one of the best running backs in the country, who is now a Pittsburgh Steeler. We're going to focus on the passing attack because at times, yes, it was atrocious, it was deplorable, it was non-existent. And the most dependable receiver, tight end Deion Sims, he's off to the NFL as well. So we start at quarterback with 2 guys competing for the job with just about 10 days left until opening night on that Friday night, August 30th. Okay, you've got Andrew Maxwell and you've got Connor Cook. Maxwell started all 13 games, so he's got the experience, and that gives him the edge. He threw for 2,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, 9 picks. 52% completion percentage. And this is a guy that was not taking shots down the field. So the 52% was not productive. It's not like he was gaining yardage in chunks downfield and taking shots down the field. 52% is unacceptable. He's got to raise that by about 10% this season. A lot of the throws were underneath stuff, especially to Deion Sims, who's gone. He was the security blanket. This passing offense was really non-existent. It was ugly. The bowl game in particular really was the microcosm of the Michigan State offense all season. They did nothing in the first half. They finally got Le'Veon Bell untracked in the second half, and he completely beat up the TCU defense. But in terms of passing the football, Le'Veon Bell had more passing yards than the starting quarterback, Andrew Maxwell, until late in the football game. Connor Cook actually was given the final drive against TCU and responded. No, he didn't light it up. No, he didn't lead some kind of 85, 90-yard drive for a touchdown. He just needed to get the Spartans into field goal range. He hit on 4 of 11, so that was pretty pedestrian as well. 4 of 11 for 47 yards and a touchdown in the bowl game and led the game-winning field goal drive. So he's got that under his belt. So it's Connor Cook, who's a little bit more of a playmaker, a little bit more mobile, not a speed threat by any stretch, but more athletic than Andrew Maxwell. Maxwell has the experience in the offense, but he has to get much better. Again, number 108 in scoring offense. They were last in the Big Ten in passing efficiency. Again, 7 times, scoring less than 20 points per game. So regardless of how good the defense is, you've got to score if you're Michigan State. And certainly, if you're looking at the wide receivers, we're not talking about an inexperienced group here. They've got 4 of their top 6 pass catchers coming back. They've got 4 guys in Keith Mumphrey and Aaron Burbidge and Tony Lippett and also Bennie Fowler, who caught between 35 and 42 passes last season. But check out the numbers. They caught between 35 and 42 passes for not a whole lot of yardage. They were all in the low teens in terms of yards per reception. They only scored 9 touchdowns between those 4 wide receivers. So those guys are not explosive, big-time threats. Let me know, Michigan State fans, what you see, certainly, because I saw Michigan State last season against Boise State. I saw the Notre Dame game. I saw them play Ohio State to the wire, and I saw the bowl game against TCU. Other than that, the highlights. Again, Burbidge, Lippett, Mumphrey, and Fowler. Those are the guys that need to step up and make plays. Michigan State, despite not being a passing team, being a run-first team, and they always will be under Mark Antonio, dropped more passes than anybody per attempt that I can imagine out there in college football. It was awful, to the point where McGarrett Kings Jr., one of the up-and-coming wide receivers who's looking for playing time, caught 4 passes last season, has posted next to his locker an article by a Michigan State beat writer that says that this passing offense last season was halfway atrocious. And in looking at the Michigan State passing offense last season, I think that beat writer was probably about halfway wrong and halfway right, because it was flat out atrocious most of the time. Mark D'Antonio got in the face of this group as a unit a couple days ago in practice and said, we need attitude out of you guys. You guys need to fight your way off the line. You've got to fight for the football. You have to determine that you're going to catch the football. You're going to fight for it. You're going to bring it down. You're going to be the guy to make big plays. We are not dropping passes this season. They do have 9 starters back on offense, so they've got experience. But it's not big play making experience at this point. So we've got to see something in particular out of those 4 players to help out either Andrew Maxwell, most likely, or possibly Connor Cook if he gets some time at quarterback. Michigan State fans would love to hear what you have to say because you've got the defense in place. I certainly think, again, it's going to be one of the top 10 defenses in college football. Although they didn't create as many turnovers and big plays defensively as they had in the past. That's one thing that they could improve on defensively. 5 touchdowns 2 years ago in 2011, 0 created last season. But it's upon the passing game, not to be wild and crazy and throw the ball all over the place, but be efficient, move the sticks, create some big plays because they're not going to be able to move it 80 yards at 4 and 5 yards a play next season coming up this fall. So again, Michigan State fans, certainly chime in on your passing attack. Would love to hear what you have to say. I see Michigan State going at least 8-4, and this is the reason. The offense is back, 9 starters, and they're not ultra talented, but that they do have some playmakers on the outside potentially, and Maxwell should be much better at quarterback and more comfortable in the offense. His coaches think he really took a step back once he started to face adversity. He really lacked confidence last season. So they've got to get him jump-started early. The non-conference schedule plays to that. No Boise State early on. They've got 3 pretty manageable games early on before they face Notre Dame. Also, you got to take into consideration when looking at conferences like the Big Ten and the SEC with at least 12 teams, Michigan State, when you look at their schedule against the other division, they do not have to play Ohio State, the best team in the Big Ten. They do not have to play Wisconsin or Penn State, 3 of probably the top 5 to 6 teams in the conference. That's huge when comparing trying to better the schedule and the record versus most notably Michigan and Nebraska. Nebraska's got it light as well. Don't have to play Ohio State or Wisconsin, but they do have to play Penn State. Michigan's got to play all of them. So I believe Michigan's probably the best team, and we will preview the season next week, but Michigan's probably the best team in the division, but Michigan State has the schedule advantage. But they've got to step up the passing attack. The efficiency's got to increase, plus 52%, and they have to make some big plays down the field. Spartan fans, talk to us here on ProFootballCentral.com and Mark Rogers TV.